Hello there, South Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams, and happy Friday, finally Friday. We're expecting a nice looking morning here, and for the most part this weekend, looking pretty good for anything you have planned outside. Just got a couple of things to cover today. One of them will be about how we could get some rain chances, especially this evening, and we'll also take a look at the weekend because the heat's kind of cranking up. It's going to be an increase in temperature, but also because of the humidity, it could actually feel like it's in the 90s. So we'll take a deep dive into the heat index. But let's get started with what's happening this morning in South Mississippi. So right now, as of 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30 in the morning, we are looking at temperatures in the 70s everywhere. And for some places, there's already a smidgen of heat index. Look at Gulfport, they're at 77 degrees right now, but the feels like temperature is 79. And you have Biloxi where they're at a temperature of 78, but their heat index is 80. So for some places, we're already starting to see the heat index show up a little bit this morning. As far as first alert radar is concerned, don't really find much rain out there. Looks like there might be one little tiny shower very close to where it says Poplarville on the map. We can zoom in and see that one. Looks like it's probably moving off toward the north. But other than that, not much rain to talk about this morning along our 6 southernmost counties. We can take a look. Here is the first alert radar this morning, which shows some showers and storms primarily to our north over northern Mississippi. So taking a look at that, you can see that there's some of these areas already getting rained on and stormed on. If you have friends or family that live in North Mississippi, it's been a much different morning for them as there's been a lot of thunderstorms and even some flash flooding in some places too. So not the best of mornings for them. But what we're actually watching is not necessarily this area of Mississippi storms, but instead this little very quick moving cluster of storms that rolled out of Oklahoma and into Texas. Because I think that energy from that cluster of storms is going to translate into the Mississippi storms and actually kick them a little bit more to the south and east as we go into later today. Our computer model does a decent job of showing that. We see area number 1, the showers and storms over Mississippi already, area 2, the area in Texas, and initially, this area in Mississippi is just kind of moving east, maybe even a little north of east. But as the energy from this cluster in Texas gets closer, it's going to kind of influence the direction of the Mississippi rain and make a little of it kind of roll down toward the south a little bit. Here, you'll watch that in motion with the Futurecast. So you see, from now to the morning, you've got this kind of southern extension to this area where now it's extending way down to Hattiesburg. And so we're seeing much more of Mississippi getting those storms compared to this morning when it was just the northern part of the state. And we're going to keep watching this area as it's probably going to continue moving toward the east and or southeast later today. You can see some of this getting very close to South Mississippi, so it looks like it's a possibility that we could see some rain in the area heading into later Friday evening or Friday night. Now, it's not a slam dunk. The models don't completely agree on this. There are some different models that don't show the rain ever reaching us, but it is at least a possibility. So this morning, you can see most of us only a 20 to 30% chance for rain. We go to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We can see Pearl River County, a little bit of a higher rain chance, especially near Poplarville. The rest of us might be okay for lunchtime, might not have to worry about too much rain to look out for. But it's once we get to later this afternoon, that's when I start to wonder, is this stuff actually going to come in from the north? You can see that rain chance increasing for everyone by the time we get to Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. We're all at that 30 to 40% chance. And it is a possibility that at some point between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m., maybe that's when many of us start to see some of our better rain chances out of Friday. you can take a look at this 7 p.m. and you can see that many parts of South Mississippi do have that chance, about 40%, to see the rain. If I were more confident in it, then I would put that chance higher. But I do think there might be some places that miss out on the rain, so that's why I'm only going at 40%. It was just not enough model agreement. So look, if you got some Friday evening plans, I wouldn't cancel them. I would just make sure that you got a rain jacket, a raincoat, or an umbrella with you, just in case we see some of these moving through. And, you know, we're talking about if you have Friday plans. If you were watching Good Morning Mississippi, I did mention, hey, I got a dinner date I'm trying to get planned, get going for this evening. And so I'm not canceling, but I am going to make sure to bring my rain jacket or my umbrella so that I'm not caught off guard in case we actually do see these rain showers come in. Now, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., maybe we're seeing things quieting down. The modeling doesn't show much rain as we go to later on tonight, so that could be a good sign for your plans later Friday night. But around that sunset time frame, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., there might be some rain showers in the local area. So here's a look at today's forecast. We're calling for partly cloudy sky. There will be the chance for showers at any time during the day, but right now the information is suggesting the best chances could hold off until the evening. Temperatures will be in the warm 80s, and we are expecting a heat index that could be even hotter than that. Now tonight we do have that slight uptick in the rain chance around that sunset time frame during the evening before midnight. After midnight, I'm giving you a first alert that there could be some fog trying to form in the overnight hours into early Saturday. So this is a look at the next 3 mornings. And Saturday morning and Sunday morning sure do look like there's a potential for fog in parts of South Mississippi. How much fog and how dense that fog will be remains to be seen. But it looks like there could be at least a few patches of it in some spots. So we're just giving you that early heads up that if you have a morning drive planned on Saturday, maybe you're making a road trip out of town or something like that, you do want to keep an eye on road conditions as there could be some low visibility, at least in spots. Fortunately, the latest information suggests maybe by Monday morning when it's back to work, back to school time, or at least back to work time if you're done school, then maybe it'll be a little bit better, an easier drive as we get things back into gear on Monday morning. All right, so now we're going to talk about the warmth and how this could be the warmest weekend of the year so far for parts of South Mississippi. Whether it's by temperature, we'll see, but by heat index, I'm pretty confident that these are going to be some of the highest heat index numbers we've seen all year so far. Here's why. So we've got these temperatures today, low 80s on the coast and some mid to upper 80s when you're north of I-10. So inland, that would be someplace like Wiggins, for example. Now, those were temperatures, but this is the heat index number, also known as the feels like temperature. And notice that most of them are in the upper 80s this afternoon. So all of these numbers are higher than what our temperature forecast is calling for. So this is that time of year where we're going to talk more about heat index, because just telling you the temperature by itself doesn't tell the whole story. You have to talk about the heat index, which takes not just temperature, but also the humidity into account to give you what it actually feels like to you. And compare Friday afternoon's heat index to Saturday afternoon's heat index, and you're looking at even higher numbers, lower 90s. And you'll also see the potential for lower 90s for heat index on Sunday afternoon as well. And I know this is a weekend where there's probably going to be many people out and about enjoying outdoor activities, festivities, events. And you want to make sure that you're not going to overwork yourself, because like I said, this is a look at what heat index is. It's the apparent temperature our bodies feel. That number is used to issue a heat advisory or a heat warning depending on the threshold. For South Mississippi, for many of us, I believe the threshold to trigger a heat advisory is a heat index of 108 or higher. And to trigger a heat warning, you need a heat index of greater than 112, so 113 or higher. So we're not talking about numbers like that, fortunately, but it could be, like I said, some of the hottest we've seen so far this year. And I also mentioned, of course, the number, how heat index is calculated is it takes into temperature and humidity. It takes both of those into account. So the numbers we're looking at this weekend, fortunately, we're not talking about numbers way up here at 113 for a heat warning. We're not talking about numbers way over here at 108 or higher for a heat advisory. But instead, we're in the lowest category possible, this one down here. So we're expecting heat index to get into the 90s, which, you know, if you revisit this video 2 months from now, 3 months from now, when we're in July, a heat index in the 90s is going to be like a cold blast compared to what we're going to be dealing with in the coming months once we actually get to summer. But because we just came off of winter and we're in spring, a heat index in the 90s is the worst you have felt all year long for many of you in South Mississippi. So relatively speaking, it is going to be something you have to pay attention to as your body gets acclimated to these changes, that it hasn't felt this type of hot feel for many months, you know. So be sure if you're going to be out and about enjoying the outdoors this weekend, watch your body for signs of getting overheated or overworked. I'm hoping that there's no issues. Hopefully most of us are able to play it safe this weekend. But, you know, if you're outside and you're overexerting yourself doing multiple workouts, or you're just sitting outside for like 10 hours straight, sitting directly in the sun, never taking an air conditioning break or a break in the shade, you might notice that you're going to probably feel overwhelmed. Also, if you're sitting outside for like 7+ hours and drinking no water, yeah, you're probably going to notice your body beginning to show signs of getting overworked, overheated, overwhelmed. But for many of us that know how to practice common sense heat safety, it's probably going to be okay. But I just wanted you to know ahead of time, in case you're monitoring those that you love and they're experiencing some symptoms, you won't be confused as to why that's happening. You'll know, oh, right, this is the warmest weekend or the hottest heat index weekend of the year that we have seen so far in 2025. So it makes sense that this heat is kind of affecting us a little bit differently. It's hitting differently, as the kids say, than it did earlier this year. Now, our 7-day forecast, looking ahead beyond the weekend into next week, it doesn't really show any significant cool downs in sight. So whatever type of heat we have is likely going to persist into next week. We can see the beginning of May there, which I believe is next Thursday. Thursday of next week, so the first day of May, and you do find a temperature of 81 next Thursday with a 30% chance for rain on the first day of May. But for the rest of April, it certainly looks like it's going to bring spring temperatures, but bring kind of summer-like heat index, with those heat index numbers approaching the lower 90s. Well, thank you so much for waking up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, play it safe, and have a great time.